where do I even start? What up, peoples on the internet? My name is Kevin and welcome back to another video. Okay guys, so today I'm going to be doing my October wrap up, talking to you about all of the books that I read in the month of October and also September, because I forgot to do a wrap up in September. So I know when you probably saw the thumbnail, you were like, wow, Kevin read so much in October. I'm so surprised because he never usually reads that much in 1 month. And that's where the lie comes, because this is also my September wrap up. So I'm compiling 2 months together. So yeah, there you go. Don't get too excited. I did not read that much in October. But anyways, I do have 7 books that I have to talk about in this wrap up. One is a DNF. I know, T. And then the other 6 books are books that I read. They range from 5 to 3 stars. Like 1 was a disappointment. Then I think I had like 1 5-star book and then a couple rest are like 4 stars. So it was a mediocre last 2 months for me in terms of reading. That one DNF though was the sad one because I read like 100 pages of it and it was just a waste of my time. So we love that. But anyways, without further ado, let's get into my wrap up and talk about the books, because this is going to take a while probably, and I know once I start going, I'm just not going to shut up, so we just got to keep this video going. Okay, so the first couple of books we're talking about are ones that I read in September, and so the first one I'm going to be talking about is Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I read this book back in the first week or 2 of September, I believe. I read it when I was in London. I have a reading vlog for it. If you want to watch it, I'll link it up here. And I absolutely love this book so much, and I get this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I just realized at the start of this video I said I only had 1 5-star book. That's a lie. I have 2 because this is also another 5-star. And if you don't know what this book is about, it basically follows this main character called Mi Young, who lives in Seoul in South Korea. And basically she is a 9-tailed fox, which means she has to consume the energy of men in order to survive. Now I don't want to give you anything else along the synopsis of what this book is about, because that's all I knew when I went into reading it, and I really loved it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I think I want to leave the synopsis bare for you guys so that you can be like, ooh, I want to read that. Or you can be like, no, Kev, not reading that. So you can just make your own decisions based off that synopsis if you want to. But I will say that I absolutely love this book. Characters are just amazing and you fall in love with them so instantly. I shipped the romance so hard. And like the folklore part of it, like with the 9-tailed fox, and there's also more like mythical creature kind of things in here. And more like Korean folklore, which is just very fascinating to read about, because there's chapters based on just the folklore and it's so fascinating. So if that sounds like something you also would like, then you probably will also love this too. And yeah, this book also ends on a severe cliffhanger, which had me shook. Like the ending, I was like, she did not just end the book like that. Kat Cho did not just end the book like that. Like, I know she did not just do that to me, but she did it, and she did it well, and she didn't care that we felt like this. So I definitely believe that there is going to be a sequel to this. I think it's probably just going to be a duology, but I cannot wait for the sequel to come out. I think it's going to come out next year. I want to believe that's when it's coming out. I don't know if Kat Cho's even said anything, but fingers are crossed. I'm just going to keep believing that there is a sequel, and I know there has to be a sequel. Like, there just has to be. There's no other choice. And the next book that I read in the month of September was Scythe by Neal Shusterman, and this is my first time actually ever reading a Neal Shusterman book, because I know he's very popular in the booktube world and just in YA world in general, but this is my first time ever reading a book by him, and I was very happy about it because I did end up really liking this book, and there has been a lot of hype about this book and this series just in general on booktube, so I was really hoping that the hype wasn't going to be like too much and I was going to end up hating it, but that didn't happen because I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. This book basically follows a world where you can no longer die by natural causes or by accidents and etc. You just can't die unless a scythe, which is basically a Grim Reaper, gleans you, which is basically where the scythe just comes to your house and just kills you basically in some way, because that's the only way you can die in this world. Otherwise you just grow older and then you can like rejuvenate yourself and like basically rewind time and make yourself younger again. This book basically follows our 2 main characters, Citra and Rowan, and they get taken on to be apprentices to become a scythe. And yes, this book is very fast paced. Like, it gets to the point so quickly. It's very dark and like there's a lot of death in here, so just saying, even though you can't die in this world, there's a lot of death. And yeah, as I said, it's just very fast paced. The world itself is just so unique. Like, I've never read a book like this before, and it's just really fascinating to read about, because like, imagine a world where you just couldn't die, like from natural causes and everything. Like, that would be so insane. The only reason I couldn't give this book a full 5 stars is the romance that happens in it. I just did not buy the romance, and it wasn't like a huge aspect of this book, like it really wasn't, but it bothered me, and I couldn't give it a 5-star book knowing that it bothered me in the way it did, because I just didn't believe it. it was very fast and rushed, and the pacing of the romance just wasn't right for me, and for that reason alone I just couldn't give it 5 stars. But I definitely am going to continue on with this series. I'm going to read Thunderhead, which is book 2, and I believe book 3 called The Toll just came out, so I will obviously get to that one after I read Thunderhead. But yeah, 4 out of 5 stars, still very much enjoyed it. Then the final book that I read in the month of September was The Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins, which is the first book in the Hunger Games trilogy, and this is obviously a reread for me. I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys already know what the Hunger Games series is about, so I'm not going to give a synopsis because I feel like we all know about the books or you've seen the movies. You just all know, like we all are in the know about this series. This is a reread for me. I still give it a 5 out of 5 stars again. I honestly didn't expect to still give it a 5 stars. I thought when I reread it, I would find stuff about the book that bothered me or parts I just didn't like and like make it become a 4-star book. But for me, when I read this, it just brought back all of the nostalgic vibes. It was one of the very first books that really got me into YA. So it just kind of brought me back to that happiness that I had when I first read it and how excited I was about this series, how excited I was about the movie coming out. And it just brought back so many emotions. I still cried once again over that one scene that happens in this book. If you know, you know. I still cried like a lot over it. So we love an emotional queen. Still 5 out of 5 stars. I'm definitely going to be continuing my reread of this series because I bought Catching Fire in October as well, and I definitely want to reread Catching Fire next. So still 5 out of 5 stars. I still love it so much. Now we're moving on to the books that I read in the month of October. So the first book that I have is the one I DNF'd, and I feel like it's the book that put me into a reading slump because throughout the month of October I read nothing until you guys saw like my readathon that I did last week. Those were the days that I finally read something in October because this book put me into a reading slump, I believe. And that book is Imaginary Friend by Stephen Chbosky. Now, I was very, very, very excited to read this book because just based on the synopsis alone, I thought it was going to be so intriguing. I thought it was going to be so creepy and scary and perfect for like this time of year. But where do I even start? I don't want to say that this book is awful because it definitely isn't. I've definitely read far worse books in my life. I don't know what it is, but like it just didn't grab me. And I think also the size of this book is like 700 pages, and I kind of just wanted this book to be so good that I would fly through it because it's so long. And like the first 100 pages or so, like it is good, but like at the same time, I don't know what it is, but it just wasn't doing anything for me. And honestly, I was bored reading it. Like I remember I was just like flicking through the pages and I was just like not really retaining the information, which is like, that's not a good sign. If a book is doing that to you, that's not a good sign. So I just knew I had to DNF it. Now this doesn't mean I'm never going to get back to this book ever, because I do think maybe I was just in a mindset where like I was done with reading. Like I just didn't want to read anything and I was kind of forcing myself. So maybe that's why this book just wasn't grabbing me the way that I've seen it's grabbed other people. But I also have seen a lot of complaints about this book. Similar people are saying it was boring, too long, it just wasn't grabbing them in the way that they expected it to. So I know I'm not alone saying this, but I just want to hope that it's just I was in a bad mindset, or like I just wasn't in the mood to read and therefore it just wasn't working for me. I just don't know how to talk about this book. Yeah, I DNF'd it. We think I was in a bad mindset. I don't know. Let me know down below if you've read this book, what your thoughts were on it. Let me know. I'm interested to see what everyone else thinks because, as you can tell, I don't even know how to articulate how I feel about it. Then the next book that I read, you guys would have seen all 3 of these books if you watched my readathon vlogs from last week. So if you haven't seen them, I'll link one up here and then I'll link one at the end of the video so you guys can go watch them. They're literally the last 3 videos I uploaded before this one. And so the first one that I read, those reading vlogs, was Birthday by Meredith Russo, which was a 5 out of 5 star book for me because I just loved it so much. This book follows Morgan and Eric, who are best friends, and they were born on the exact same day and they've known each other since they were literally babies. And the book begins on their 13th birthday, and each part of this book deals with the same day just a year later. So like the first part of this book is their 13th birthday, then you kind of get to the end of that part and it starts at their 14th birthday. So then when you read that chapter, it's been a year since the previous this chapter that you read, if that makes sense. And Morgan lost their mother to cancer, and their mother has left like video files and letters for them for each birthday until their 18th birthday. So throughout each birthday as well, they're getting a video message that their mother left for them before they died and stuff like that. And they're also getting a letter from the mother each year too. And it's very emotional that way because it deals a lot with grief, and there is a lot of content warning and trigger warnings for this book, such as parental abuse, loss of a parent, suicide, transphobia and homophobia. So I just want you guys to know that before you read this book. Also, the book does have a trigger warning at the very front of it right here. It says, Birthday is a work of fiction but deals with many real issues including self-harm and suicidal behavior. Links to advice and support can be found at the back of this book, which I really liked because I saw that before I started the book and I was like, that makes me so happy that I can see that like the author or like the publisher or whatever put that information at the very beginning, and there is lots of different helplines at the back of the book for people to reach out and talk to someone if this book affects them in a certain way, which I personally absolutely loved, and we definitely need to see way more of that in books. So yeah, Morgan's dealing with all of that, like their mother has passed and it's just them and their dad now, and Morgan's also dealing with who they are and who they want to become because they've always believed that they should have been a girl. So also this book deals with like Morgan transitioning and stuff like that. Eric is also just Morgan's best friend, and their relationship together is just so cute and adorable. I love it so much. The romance in here is also a really slow burner, which I absolutely loved because I love a good slow burning romance because it's just so cute and it was done so well. This book is just so good, and there's just so many amazing representation because there's also therapy representation in here too. It's just an amazing book, and it's one that's definitely going to stick with me for a very long time now after I finished it, and I loved it so much. If you've read If I Was Your Girl by Meredith Russo and you liked that one, I would highly recommend that you pick this one up because you're probably going to love this one also. It was just such an amazing book. 5 out of 5 stars. The next book that I read in the month of October was Pumpkinheads by Rainbow Rowell, which is a graphic novel and Rainbow Rowell's first graphic novel. And I actually read this on Halloween itself because this book takes place on a pumpkin patch, and I loved it so much. It was such a cute and adorable book. It just hit me with all of the feels, all of the Halloween vibes that I was looking for, and it's such a fluffy and cute graphic novel, so if that's what you're looking for, this is a perfect read because it just deals with a lot of tropes that I love, like friends to lovers. And yeah, I'm not going to say too much about what it's about. It basically follows these two main characters that work on a pumpkin patch, and it's their last year working there. That's all I'm going to say, and that's all you really need to know. If it sounds like something that you want to read, I would highly recommend you pick it up. The only thing that I didn't like about it was how predictable it was. Like, you could predict everything that was going to happen in this book, and that kind of took a little bit away from me from my rating because I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just because it was too predictable, and I just wished it just wasn't that predictable. But still, really enjoyed it. It gave me all of the feels that I was looking for, so that's all that I can ask because she reached my expectations and I was satisfied. So the final book that I read in the month of October was The Wicked King by Holly Black, which is the second book in the Folk of Air series, I believe it's called. If you guys remember from my October book haul, I couldn't remember what the name of the series was, but I believe it's called the Folk of Air series. And this is a book that was a big disappointment for me because I gave this book a 3 out of 5 stars. If you don't know, this is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, so I'm not going to say too much about what's it about because that would be a spoiler. This book for me, it was just a lot slower paced and not as action-packed for me as much as the first book was. Also in The Cruel Prince, there was just a lot of plot twists and things that happened that had me shook so much. And in this one, there were still plot twists, but they weren't until nearly the very end of the book. And like the first, like, I want to say half or like 60% of this book, it's just very political, and it's kind of just setting everything up that needs to be set up for the final book, Queen of Nothing. So I understand the importance of all the political stuff, but for me, I was bored. Honey, I don't like politics, so I don't want to read that much about politics. So yeah, that's kind of why I get this book a 3 out of 5 stars. It just was a lot slower to me. Nothing really happened until near the end. But I will say that the ending of this book had me shook so much because I did not see it coming whatsoever. I was like, did that really just happen? And it did, and I'm still like processing how, like, why did that happen? But that's the only reason why I've kept it at a 3 out of 5 stars, is because the ending really brought it up for me, and I still did enjoy the book as a whole. 3 stars for me is still a really good mark. Like, that means the book is good. It's just nothing amazing or spectacular. Like, it just wasn't 4 or 5 star worthy for me. I think it's set up perfectly for Queen of Nothing, and I think Queen of Nothing is going to be absolutely amazing and probably better than The Cruel Prince. So guys, they are all of the 7 books that I read since September, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know down below in the comments if you've read any of these books. What were your thoughts on them? Let me know if you've read Imaginary Friend and what you thought of it. Like, did you enjoy it? Was it not grabbing you the way it didn't grab me? Let me know, because I'm really interested in talking about that one in particular. Also, let me know, did The Wicked King disappoint you compared to The Cruel Prince, or did you actually like it more than The Cruel Prince? I would love to know that too. But other than that, guys, I am going to see you all next time for my next video. So goodbye, guys.